The video shown by U.S. President Donald Trump during his meeting with President Cyril Ramaphosa in the Oval Office on Wednesday did not depict mass graves of white farmers killed in South Africa. Trump claimed that the footage showed burial sites of over 1,000 white farmers allegedly murdered in what he referred to as, quote-unquote, a white genocide. However, the video was actually from a community protest which was held in KwaZulu-Natal in September of 2020, following the killing of Glen and Vida Rafferty. Now, this was on their farm a month earlier. The video is one of several misleading claims made by Trump to support some of the false narrative of a so-called white genocide in South Africa. Let's get some background now and do some fact-checking for you. Joining us to do that is our senior reporter, Qaanitah Hunter. Qaanitah, good evening to you and thank you for joining us. Let's start with September 2020. What actually happened there? What was the protest about? It is sort of clear as to why it happened in the first place, but how did the whole thing unfold?
Well, in September 2020, the community of Nomedene, which is very close to Newcastle in KwaZulu-Natal, were very much disturbed. This was because a month earlier, there was this really brutal killing that happened where a couple was shot dead. It was a 63-year-old farm owner. His name was Glen Rafferty. His wife, a 60-year-old woman, her name was Vida. She was also shot dead as well as their dog. The community was outraged. And when I say the community, it was farm owners, farm dwellers, farm workers, everyone outraged at this violent crime. Immediately after this incident that really rocked that community, government was present there. Government had said at the time that they would then start prioritizing rural safety. Yeah. I looked into what was launched at the time, the renewed National Rural Safety Plan. You would recall one Bheki Cele. He was the police minister at the time, going to the area, holding a massive meeting of both black and white citizens of that area who raised concern around safety. So what you saw on the screen that was played out in the White House was not what Donald Trump said, the graves of 1,000 white Afrikaner farmers. It was not their families coming and paying respect to them, as he said. It did not happen on a Sunday, as he said. That protest happened on a Saturday. That's a basic fact check. Yeah. And let's actually just take a listen, Goli, to exactly how Donald Trump presented that video.
And the people that are being killed in large numbers, and you saw all those grave sites, and those are people that loved ones going, I guess on a Sunday morning, they told me, to pay respect to their loved ones that were killed. Their heads chopped off, they died violently. And, you know, I mean, we're here to talk about it.
So President Trump makes the point during that discussion with President Ramaphosa that the crosses that you see on either side of the road, and he says those were a representation of people who had died. What do we make of that statement? But also add to that, he tells President Ramaphosa in his face that government is doing nothing about it. Moments ago, you've just said that government said that a rural strategy was launched almost around the same time.
Yeah. So this video that's in question, that's used to prove, as Donald Trump said, white genocide, was, like we said, a memorial protest from a community in KwaZulu-Natal. And so when they say government has completely disregarded this issue, we tracked down the police minister at the time, Bheki Cele, who said that he was in that community the day after this particular incident shown on the TV in the White House happened. He said it is not true that government did not respond and did not take it seriously. It is also misinformation that no one was held accountable. Currently, as we speak, there are 3 people that are serving long sentences. One of them is a 29-year-old at the time, he was 29 years old, who confessed to the murder. There was a car that was stolen. He says that since then, they have been characterizing farm murders. He says farm murders are the only named sort of subsect of crime in the crime stats. He says when there is violence against taxi drivers, which we know is a lot, there isn't a reporting to say 8 or 100 or 2,000 taxi drivers had died, you know, whatever the number could be. But he says government has made it a priority to intervene and to say that rural safety is a matter.
So
now,
there's specificity around farm murders.
Absolutely. And so let's look at what the stats tell us. The stats since 2020 range between 49 and 63 murders. Now, should anyone die? Absolutely not. But given the scourge of crime in the country, this is a minute representation of the number of people that die every day. So when we spoke, Newzroom Afrika spoke to Bheki Cele, he says that it is patently untrue for AfriForum and then for the Trump administration to perpetuate this narrative that government simply hides or does nothing when it comes to the issue of rural safety. He says he went to this community. He says he went there with the Deputy Minister of Agriculture at the time, Tebisi Skwatsha, and he says that in that room there was both white and black South Africans. And so the point made in the White House yesterday that rural crime and crime that's affecting farm workers affect black people and white people. There is no evidence to prove that it is targeted killings because of race.
Thank you very much, Qaanitah Hunter.